What happens when a late-night heckle goes too far and the mic becomes a weapon? Comedy clubs are supposed to be places for laughter, but lately, the laughs come with risk. In a world where tensions run high and cameras are always rolling, the line between entertainment and danger is thinner than ever. Because comedians are meant to tell jokes, not dodge punches or flying beer bottles. But that's exactly what's happening. And it's not just about heckling anymore. It's about ego, pride, and public humiliation, all unfolding live on stage. One bad night, one angry audience member, and a comic can go from doing crowd work to fighting for control. So here's the real question. When a heckler goes from insults to violence, who actually wins? Picture this. A comic calmly delivers a savage roast. The crowd laughs. But the target? He stands, slurring threats. Moments later, he's charging the stage. The crowd screams. Phones are up. Security is nowhere in sight. And the comic? Still gripping the mic, but no longer for jokes. Moments like these are no longer rare, and they don't always end cleanly. Sometimes the comedian holds their ground, sometimes they get hit, and sometimes they strike back. This isn't just about comedy, it's about what happens when words stop working and the room becomes a battleground. Free speech meets raw instinct under the heat of stage lights. Because when you're under attack in front of strangers, it's not your set list that saves you, it's your reflexes. Over the next few minutes, you'll hear about some moments where comics didn't just deliver punchlines. They had to throw punches, or take them. This isn't about cancel culture. This isn't about offensive material. This is about survival. The spotlight is on. The crowd is watching. And the rules, they're gone. So ask yourself, if you were that comic, would you keep going or drop the mic and run? In early 2018, at the Comedy House in Columbia, South Carolina, comedian Steve Brown was working the stage like any other night. The crowd was laughing, the energy was high, until one man up front crossed a line, drunk, angry, loud. He wouldn't stop shouting, no matter how many times Steve roasted him back. Then without warning, the man jumped onto the stage. He didn't just yell, he attacked. He grabbed the mic stand, threw a stool, swung wildly. Steve dodged, defended, and kept moving as the crowd screamed and phones flew up. It looked more like a wrestling match than a comedy set. Security took too long, but Steve held his ground. That footage, it went viral within hours. Not for the jokes, but for the sheer chaos. That night wasn't just a heckle gone wrong. It was a reminder that when comics step on stage, they don't just need jokes. They might need reflexes. And for some comedians, that kind of heat. They don't run, they fire back harder. In August 2022, British comedian Simon Kane was doing what he loved, telling jokes on stage. But that night, the laughs didn't last long. A man in the audience wouldn't stop shouting. Simon warned him once, then again. But the man didn't stop. And then, without warning, he got up and hit Simon from the side. That one hit was hard enough to break Simon's leg. The crowd didn't realize what had just happened, but Simon knew something was wrong. He finished his set somehow, but the pain kept growing. His tibia was fractured, and he didn't even know it yet. After the show, Simon drove 2 hours. In pain so sharp, he later said it was the worst pain of his life. At the hospital, doctors confirmed the break. His comedy tour was over. Months of healing began. The attacker, just a heckler who didn't like being embarrassed. Simon said later that he wasn't just scared of pain, he was scared about what might happen next time. Because if one angry man could walk up and break his leg that easily, what's stopping the next one from doing worse? That slap wasn't just about pride, it was a reminder. Comedians aren't as safe as we think. They stand under the lights, but they're exposed. If one slap can break a bone, what happens when someone charges the stage? In May 2022, at the Netflix is a Joke Festival in Los Angeles, Dave Chappelle was doing what he always does, making the crowd laugh. But in the middle of his act, something terrifying happened. A man in the audience got up, ran across the stage, and tackled Chappelle hard to the ground. The attacker had a fake gun that was hiding a real knife. This wasn't just about jokes anymore. This was an attempted attack. In seconds, security jumped in. Even actor Jamie Foxx ran up to help. They pinned the man down. The audience, who came for laughs, could only watch in shock as the scene unfolded. Gasps filled the air, and the stage turned from a spotlight into a danger zone. Later, police confirmed the attacker had planned the move. He was carrying a weapon and had rushed the stage without warning. He was sentenced to 270 days in jail. Dave Chappelle wasn't seriously hurt, but it could have been much worse. He told the crowd afterward that it was scary and even joked about it, but everyone knew. This wasn't just another wild moment. It was a wake-up call. If a celebrity like Dave, with full security and a massive crowd, can be rushed mid-show, what does that mean for smaller comedians? And more importantly, what happens when the weapon doesn't stay hidden, but flies straight from the crowd? During a regular club show, comedian Ariel Elias was telling jokes when a heckler started yelling. She handled it calmly, making a few jokes back. But suddenly, the heckler's anger got physical. He threw a full beer can at her. Elias was lucky. She ducked just in time, and the can slammed into the wall behind her, then bounced onto the stage. The crowd went silent. What started as laughter turned into fear. People didn't know what would happen next. Some froze. Some reached for their phones. Elias, though shaken, didn't run. She picked up the beer can, looked at the crowd, and said calmly, "You threw a can at me." That moment hit harder than any punchline. She kept performing, but the mood had changed. The club had to step in. Security escorted people out. The attacker left, but the video of the moment went viral. This wasn't just about comedy anymore. It showed how fast things can turn violent, even in a room meant for laughter, a joke, a can. A split-second decision. When objects start flying, who decides what happens next? The comic, the crowd, or chaos itself. At a show in 2015, comedian Mike Epps faced off with a heckler who refused to stay quiet. The man wore a plaid shirt, kept yelling, and wouldn't back down, no matter how many times Epps tried to move on. What started as roasting from the stage quickly turned into something more serious. The heckler stood up, shouted louder, and came closer. Security? They hesitated. The crowd, they watched. Some even filmed. Then a punch landed, hard. The man started bleeding right there in the venue. People gasped, but many cheered. It wasn't comedy anymore. It was a brawl. The mic was forgotten. The stage didn't matter. It was just fists flying in the spotlight. After the chaos settled, Epps got back on the mic. He apologized for the blood, but not for standing up for himself. Fans were split. Some praised him. Others were shocked. This moment left a question hanging in the air. If a heckler gets violent, is the comic allowed to fight back? Where's the line between defense and assault, especially when you're holding a mic, not a weapon? Comedian Corey Michaelis was doing a set at a dry bar comedy show, a clean, quiet venue known for safe, friendly laughs. But during this particular night, things took a sharp turn. A heckler got up from his seat and charged the stage. No warning, no joke gone too far, just sudden aggression. Corey didn't run. He didn't yell. He did something no one expected from a smiling comic. He punched the heckler. It wasn't a wild swing. It was a clear, direct hit. A defensive move, not a brawl. The punch landed as the crowd gasped. The camera kept rolling until the moment of contact. Then, the film cut out. What remained was a room full of confusion and a comic who had just crossed a line he never planned to approach. In that split second, jokes didn't matter. Safety did. There was no security between him and danger. Just a man with a mic and a choice. Comedians hope this never happens. But some nights, it does. And when it does, you find out fast. Will they step back or strike back? Comedy is a battlefield of words. But when the words stop working, violence steps in. Some comedians didn't run. They fought back. And in those few seconds, they didn't just protect the show. They may have saved their lives. A stage is supposed to be a safe space, a spotlight for laughter. But even that sacred ground can shake when someone unhinged steps forward. We've seen it all: splintered bones, flying cans, fan tackles, and bare-knuckle defense. When hecklers turn into attackers, comedians stop being clowns. They become protectors. So ask yourself, what does it take to truly stand your ground? These weren't jokes gone sideways. They were survival scenarios under stage lights. In each case, a mic stand wasn't just a prop. It was a shield. A punchline turned into a punch thrown in defense. There's comedy, and then there are curtain calls that could kill. If you respect the courage it takes to stay standing, literally hit like, subscribe, and share this now. And hey, know a moment when a comic stood their ground? Tell us in the comments below. Just keep it clean, keep it true, and leave the violence out of it.